In this heart-wrenching tale, Amara wakes from a coma to discover her world turned upside down. Her husband Jumma, once loving and devoted, has betrayed her with her best friend, Zuri. As she uncovers the shocking truth, Amara must navigate the emotional storm of deception, heartbreak, and her own strength. Tension builds as the betrayal unravels, testing Amara's resilience and forcing her to make life-altering decisions. Will she seek revenge or choose forgiveness, as the once unbreakable bonds of love and friendship crumble? I woke up to the sound of rain pounding on the thatched roof of our home. My eyes fluttered open slowly, adjusting to the dim light seeping through the cracks in the wooden windows. The air felt cold, and I shivered under the thin blanket covering me. Confused, I glanced around, feeling a dull ache in my head. Where was I? How long had I been asleep? The room looked familiar yet distant, as if I hadn't been here in a long time. My mind struggled to remember what had happened. The last thing I recalled was the marketplace in the village of Enkala. There had been a sudden pain in my chest, a shout, and then, nothing. A faint creak of the door snapped me out of my thoughts. I turned my head weakly and saw my husband, Jumma, standing at the entrance, his face pale as if he had seen a ghost. He dropped the basket of yams he was carrying, his wide eyes fixed on me. "You are awake," he stammered, rushing toward me. His hands were trembling as he reached out to touch my face, brushing my cheek as if he needed to confirm I was real. "What happened?" I whispered, my voice hoarse. "How long?" Jumma sat down beside me, his face stricken with worry. "It's been 3 months, Amara. You were in a coma, we thought we had lost you." 3 months. My heart raced. I had been gone for so long. I tried to sit up, but my body felt weak, like I hadn't moved in ages. Jumma gently helped me lean back against the woven mats. "Everything is okay now," he said softly, his voice filled with relief. "You're back with us." But something felt wrong. His eyes didn't shine like they used to. There was a shadow behind them, a hesitation in the way he spoke. It felt like he was hiding something from me. Days passed, and I regained my strength little by little. My mother and aunt visited often, bringing fresh fruits and herbs from the village to help me heal. I was grateful for their care, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was being kept from me. Jumma was always around, yet distant, like he couldn't meet my eyes for more than a few seconds. It wasn't long before I began to notice that he wasn't the same man I had married. He looked thinner, his eyes hollow, and his smile didn't reach his eyes anymore. One evening, as I sat outside under the big baobab tree in the courtyard, my best friend, Zuri, came to visit. She had been like a sister to me ever since we were children. I expected her to be full of excitement and joy, happy to see me after my long slumber, but instead, she seemed nervous. Her eyes darted around, avoiding my gaze. "Zuri, what's wrong?" I asked, reaching out to touch her arm. "You've barely spoken since you arrived." Zuri hesitated, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her brightly colored kitenge dress. The bold patterns of red and yellow, normally vibrant, seemed to fade in the gloomy atmosphere around us. She bit her lip, looking like she was holding back a storm of emotions. "It's nothing, Amara," she said quickly. I'm just glad you're okay." But her words didn't match the sadness in her eyes. Something had happened, something no one was telling me. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind kept spinning. I couldn't sleep. The house felt too quiet, too cold. Jumma was out late again, something that had become more frequent since I woke up. I didn't want to doubt him, but the change in him was impossible to ignore. Weeks went by, and my strength returned fully. But with it came a growing sense of unease. The distance between Jumma and me widened, and Zuri's visits became more and more infrequent. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a secret looming over me like a dark cloud. One day, while gathering firewood near the river, I overheard 2 women from the village whispering behind a large tree. I stayed hidden, not wanting to interrupt their conversation, but what I heard sent chills down my spine. "Have you seen the way Jumma has been sneaking around with Zuri? It's shameful, especially after everything Amara has been through." "Shush, not so loud. If she finds out, it'll destroy her." I stood frozen, my mind racing. Could it be true? Could my best friend and my husband have betrayed me while I lay unconscious, helpless? The days after that felt like a bad dream. I couldn't confront Jumma right away, I needed to be sure. So I waited. I watched. Late at night, when I pretended to be asleep, I noticed him slipping out quietly, always returning just before dawn. My heart ached, but I needed proof. One fateful night, I followed him. It was a quiet evening, with the stars twinkling above like distant lanterns. I crept out of the house, careful not to make a sound. The path he took led me deep into the forest, near the small hut that Zuri's grandmother had left behind years ago. My heart pounded in my chest as I approached the hut, peeking through the small window. Inside, I saw them, Jumma and Zuri, sitting close together, their faces filled with guilt and sadness. Zuri was crying, her head resting on Jumma's shoulder as he held her hand. "We can't keep doing this," she whispered between sobs. "It's wrong. I know," Jumma said, his voice filled with regret. "But I don't know how to tell her. I love her, but I love you too." I stumbled backward, my vision blurring with tears. My chest tightened, and it felt like the air was being sucked out of my lungs. I turned and ran, my footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. My mind raced with disbelief, pain, and anger. How could they do this to me? As I reached home, I collapsed by the door, sobbing uncontrollably. The betrayal felt like a knife to my heart. My world had crumbled, and I didn't know how to piece it back together. In the days that followed, I didn't confront Jumma or Zuri. Instead, I stayed silent, letting the storm of emotions rage inside me. I needed time to think. How could I face them? How could I live in the same house with Jumma, knowing what he had done? But I couldn't keep the truth hidden forever. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned a brilliant orange, Jumma came home early. His face was pale, his eyes filled with worry. "Amara, we need to talk," he said softly, sitting down beside me. His hand reached for mine, but I pulled away, my heart racing. "I know," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I couldn't hold them back anymore. "I know about you and Zuri." Jumma's face turned ashen, and for a moment, he was speechless. Jumma's eyes widened in shock, and he took a step back as if the words I spoke physically struck him. His lips parted to speak, but no sound came. The air between us felt heavy, filled with the unspoken tension that had been growing for weeks. He knew the time for hiding was over. How long have you known?" Jumma finally managed to ask, his voice trembling with guilt and fear. He avoided my eyes, staring down at the ground, his hands wringing together as if he didn't know what to do with them. "Long enough," I replied, my voice breaking as tears threatened to spill again. "I followed you that night, to Zuri's hut. I saw everything." Jumma collapsed to his knees in front of me, grabbing my hands with a desperation I had never seen in him before. His grip was firm, but not painful. He looked up at me with pleading eyes, tears welling up in his own. "Amara, I am so sorry. I know I hurt you, I know I broke your trust, but please, you have to understand. It wasn't meant to happen. I was weak. We were both weak. I never wanted to betray you." I looked down at him, my heart breaking in 1,000 pieces. There was a time when I would have given anything to hear him say those words, to feel his remorse. But now, the hurt ran too deep. I trusted you, Jumma. I loved you more than anything. And you threw it all away. For what? For her. He shook his head, his grip on my hands tightening as if he were afraid I would slip away forever. "It wasn't like that. I was lost. You were in a coma for so long, and I didn't know if you would ever wake up. Zuri was there for me. We were both in pain, we both felt so alone." His words stung, but they made sense. That didn't mean the betrayal hurt any less, but it did explain some of the confusion I had felt since waking up. Still, I couldn't just forgive him so easily. "I don't know what to do," I whispered, pulling my hands away from his. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Jumma's face crumpled, and he dropped his head into his hands. "I will do anything, Amara. Anything. Just please, give me a chance to make this right." I stood up, backing away from him. My heart ached, but I needed space to think, to breathe. I need time, Jumma, I said softly. I need to figure out if this is something I can forgive. But for now, I don't want to see you. I need to be alone. Jumma looked up, his face full of regret, but he nodded. He stood, wiping his eyes, and walked away without another word. The silence he left behind felt deafening. In the days that followed, I stayed away from the house as much as I could. I wandered through the village, talking to elders, seeking comfort from my family. Zuri tried to visit, but I couldn't bear to see her. The wound was still too fresh. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, the pain began to dull. I wasn't sure if I could ever truly forgive Jumma or Zuri, but I knew that holding on to my anger would only hurt me more. One day, I found myself sitting beneath the same baobab tree where Zuri and I used to laugh together as children. Memories of our friendship flooded my mind, reminding me of the bond we once shared. I realized then that forgiveness wasn't for them, it was for me. I didn't have to forget what they did, but if I wanted to heal, I needed to let go of the bitterness. When I returned home that evening, I found Jumma sitting outside, waiting for me. He looked up as I approached, a hopeful yet fearful expression on his face. "I've been patient," he said quietly. "I know I don't deserve it, but I still love you, Amara. I will always love you." I sat down beside him, taking a deep breath. The weight of everything that had happened still hung between us, but I felt lighter somehow. I wasn't sure if our relationship could ever go back to what it once was, but maybe, just maybe, there was a chance to rebuild. "I don't know if I can forget, Jumma," I said softly, "but I'm willing to try." Jumma's face lit up with cautious hope. He reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't pull away. As the sun set over Enkala village, I realized that life isn't always about the happy endings we dream of. Sometimes, the road to healing is filled with pain and difficult choices. Will Amara and Jumma be able to rebuild the trust they once had? Or is their bond forever broken by betrayal? I guess we'll have to see what happens. Next, if you've been on a journey like Amara's, don't forget, healing takes time, and it's okay to feel lost sometimes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you forgive if you were in Amara's shoes? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to follow this story as it continues. We've only just begun, and there's much more to come.